Welcome to a transformative journey through 50 powerful Stoic affirmations that have the potential to reshape your mindset and strengthen your character. Stoicism, one of the most practical and enduring philosophies of ancient Greece and Rome, offers us timeless wisdom for navigating the complexities of modern life. Founded in Athens around 300 BCE by Zeno of Citium, Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control external events, we have complete authority over our responses to them. This philosophy has guided emperors like Marcus Aurelius, freed slaves like Epictetus, and countless individuals seeking peace, resilience, and wisdom in an unpredictable world. The Stoic affirmations we'll explore today aren't mere positive thinking exercises. They're profound philosophical statements rooted in centuries of contemplation about human nature, virtue, and the path to genuine happiness. Each affirmation represents a principle that can help you build mental fortitude, emotional stability, and moral clarity. As we journey through these 50 affirmations, you'll discover tools for managing anxiety, building resilience, cultivating gratitude, and developing the unshakable inner strength that characterizes the Stoic sage. These aren't just words to repeat, but principles to embody and live by. Let's begin this exploration of ancient wisdom that remains remarkably relevant for our contemporary challenges. Affirmation 1. I control my response to every situation. The foundational principle of Stoicism rests on the recognition that we have complete control over our thoughts, emotions, and actions, regardless of external circumstances. This affirmation reminds us that no matter what happens around us, we possess the ultimate power to choose our response. When faced with criticism, rejection, or unexpected challenges, this affirmation serves as an anchor. It shifts our focus from what we cannot control to what we absolutely can control. The traffic jam cannot be undone, but our reaction to it is entirely within our domain. The harsh words from a colleague cannot be unspoken, but our emotional response and subsequent actions remain our choice. This principle doesn't suggest that we should suppress emotions or pretend difficulties don't affect us. Instead, it empowers us to recognize that between any stimulus and our response lies a space where our freedom resides. In that space, we can choose wisdom over reactivity, understanding over anger, and growth over stagnation. Practicing this affirmation means regularly asking yourself whether your energy is being spent on what you can control or what you cannot. It means developing the habit of pausing before reacting and consciously choosing responses that align with your values and long-term well-being. Affirmation 2. I focus only on what is within my power. The Stoics made a crucial distinction between what is up to us and what is not up to us. This affirmation reinforces that distinction and helps us channel our energy where it can actually make a difference. What is within our power includes our judgments, our desires, our actions, and our values. What is not within our power includes other people's behavior, natural disasters, economic conditions, and the past or future. This seems simple, yet most human suffering stems from trying to control what is fundamentally beyond our control. When we focus on what is within our power, we become more effective and less frustrated. Instead of worrying about whether our boss will promote us, we focus on doing excellent work. Instead of trying to change our partner's personality, we work on being the best partner we can be. Instead of lamenting the weather ruining our outdoor plans, we adapt and find indoor alternatives. This affirmation requires constant practice because our minds naturally drift toward trying to control external outcomes. However, each time we redirect our attention to our own sphere of influence, we build psychological strength and find greater peace. Affirmation 3. I accept what I cannot change with grace. Acceptance is not passive resignation or giving up. In Stoicism, Acceptance is an active choice to work with reality rather than against it. This affirmation teaches us to embrace what is already determined while maintaining our agency in areas where we can make a difference. Grace in acceptance means meeting unavoidable circumstances with dignity and composure. When faced with illness, loss, or failure, we can choose to respond with resentment and bitterness, or we can choose to accept these experiences as part of the human condition and look for opportunities to grow. Accepting what we cannot change doesn't mean we become doormats or stop working toward improvement. It means we stop wasting emotional energy fighting against reality and instead use that energy constructively. If you lose your job, acceptance means acknowledging the reality of unemployment while actively pursuing new opportunities. This principle is particularly powerful when dealing with other people. We cannot change anyone else's opinions, behaviors, or choices, but we can change how we respond to them. Accepting this limitation with grace frees us from the exhausting cycle of trying to control others and allows us to focus on our own character development. Affirmation 4. My thoughts shape my reality. The Stoics understood that our perception of events, rather than the events themselves, determines our emotional experience. This affirmation emphasizes the profound power our thoughts have in creating our subjective reality. Two people can experience the same situation and have completely different emotional responses based on their interpretation of what happened. A job rejection can be seen as a personal failure and source of shame, or it can be viewed as redirection toward a better opportunity and a chance to improve interview skills. This doesn't mean we should engage in unrealistic positive thinking or deny genuine difficulties. Instead, it means we should examine our thoughts for accuracy and helpfulness. Are we catastrophizing? Are we making assumptions about others' intentions? Are we focusing on worst-case scenarios while ignoring more likely positive outcomes? By consciously shaping our thoughts, we take responsibility for our mental and emotional well-being. We become less reactive to external circumstances and more responsive to our own rational assessment of situations. This leads to greater emotional stability and more thoughtful decision-making. Affirmation 5. I practice virtue in all my actions. Virtue in Stoicism consists of wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. This affirmation commits us to making these qualities the foundation of all our decisions and actions, regardless of external consequences. Wisdom involves seeking truth, learning from experience, and making thoughtful decisions. Justice encompasses fairness, honesty, and consideration for others. Courage means facing difficulties with bravery and standing up for what is right. Temperance involves moderation, self-control, and balance. Practicing virtue in all actions means choosing what is right over what is easy, what is honest over what is convenient, and what is just over what is personally advantageous. It means being the same person in private as we are in public and maintaining our principles even when no one is watching. This commitment to virtue provides a clear framework for decision-making. When faced with difficult choices, we can ask ourselves which option best embodies wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. This eliminates much of the confusion and anxiety that comes from having unclear values or constantly changing priorities. Living virtuously doesn't guarantee external success or approval, but it does guarantee the deep satisfaction that comes from knowing we are living according to our highest principles. Affirmation 6. I am grateful for this present moment. Gratitude is a cornerstone of Stoic practice because it shifts our attention from what we lack to what we already possess. This affirmation grounds us in the present moment and helps us appreciate the countless blessings that surround us daily. The present moment is the only time we actually have. The past exists only in memory, and the future exists only in imagination. Yet we often spend most of our mental energy dwelling on past regrets or future anxieties, missing the richness of what is happening right now. Practicing gratitude for the present moment doesn't require perfect circumstances. Even in difficult times, there are elements worthy of appreciation: the breath moving through our lungs, the roof over our heads, the relationships that support us, or simply the fact that we are alive and capable of experiencing this moment. This affirmation helps combat the hedonic treadmill, the tendency to quickly adapt to positive changes and return to baseline levels of happiness. By consciously appreciating what we have now, we maintain a sense of abundance and contentment that external circumstances cannot easily shake. Regular practice of this affirmation transforms our relationship with daily life, helping us find joy and meaning in ordinary moments and reducing our dependence on external achievements for happiness. Affirmation 7. Obstacles are opportunities for growth. The Stoics viewed obstacles not as impediments to success, but as essential components of character development. This affirmation reframes challenges as gifts that strengthen our resolve and expand our capabilities. Every obstacle presents an opportunity to practice virtue. Financial difficulties can teach us resourcefulness and gratitude. Relationship conflicts can develop our patience and communication skills. Health challenges can deepen our appreciation for well-being and strengthen our mental resilience. This perspective doesn't minimize the real difficulty and pain that obstacles can cause. Instead, it adds meaning to suffering by connecting it to growth and development. When we view challenges as opportunities, we become more resilient and less likely to be overwhelmed by adversity. The key to embodying this affirmation is shifting from asking, "Why is this happening to me?" to asking, "What can I learn from this? And how can this experience make me stronger or wiser?" This reframing transforms us from victims of circumstances into active participants in our own development. Marcus Aurelius exemplified this principle when he wrote that we should be like a fire that grows stronger when obstacles are thrown into it, using every challenge as fuel for further growth. Affirmation 8. I choose wisdom over ignorance. Wisdom involves more than accumulating knowledge. It encompasses the ability to apply knowledge skillfully and to recognize the limits of what we know. This affirmation commits us to lifelong learning and intellectual humility. Choosing wisdom means being curious rather than defensive when our beliefs are challenged. It means seeking to understand before seeking to be understood. It means acknowledging when we don't know something rather than pretending to have answers we don't possess. Wisdom also involves learning from our mistakes rather than repeating them. It means studying the experiences of others to avoid unnecessary suffering and to benefit from their insights. The Stoics were great admirers of learning from both philosophy and practical experience. This affirmation encourages us to approach life with beginner's mind, always open to new information and different perspectives. It helps us avoid the trap of thinking we have everything figured out and keeps us growing throughout our lives. In practical terms, choosing wisdom might mean reading books that challenge our assumptions, seeking feedback from trusted sources, or simply pausing to consider whether our initial reactions to situations are based on complete information. Affirmation 9. My character is my true wealth. External possessions can be lost, stolen, or destroyed, but character is something that belongs entirely to us and cannot be taken away. This affirmation reminds us that developing virtuous character is the most valuable investment we can make. Character consists of the habits, values, and patterns of behavior that define who we are. Unlike material wealth, which can fluctuate based on economic conditions or luck, character wealth grows through conscious effort and consistently choosing virtue over vice. A person of good character possesses something that cannot be diminished by external circumstances. They maintain their integrity in difficult situations, treat others with respect regardless of social status, and find satisfaction in doing what is right rather than what is merely profitable. This affirmation helps us prioritize long-term character development over short-term gains. It encourages us to make decisions based on what kind of person we want to become, rather than just what we want to achieve or acquire. Building character wealth means being honest even when lying would be easier, being generous even when we feel we cannot afford it, and being courageous even when we feel afraid. These investments in character pay dividends throughout our entire lives. Affirmation 10. I treat others with respect and compassion. Stoicism teaches that all human beings are part of a larger community and that our well-being is interconnected. This affirmation commits us to treating every person we encounter with dignity and understanding. Respect involves recognizing the inherent worth of every individual, regardless of their social status, beliefs, or behavior toward us. Compassion involves understanding that everyone is struggling with their own challenges and doing their best with the knowledge and resources they have. This doesn't mean we should be naive about others' intentions or fail to set appropriate boundaries. Instead, it means we approach human interactions with an assumption of good faith and a desire to understand rather than to judge. Practicing this affirmation often requires restraint when others behave badly toward us. Instead of immediately reacting with anger or defensiveness, we can pause and consider what circumstances might have led to their behavior. This doesn't excuse harmful actions, but it helps us respond more thoughtfully. Treating others with respect and compassion often has the unexpected benefit of bringing out the best in them. When people feel valued and understood, they are more likely to behave in ways that justify that treatment. Affirmation 11. I embrace change as natural and necessary. The Stoics recognized that change is the fundamental nature of existence. Everything in the universe is in constant flux, and resistance to this reality causes unnecessary suffering. This affirmation helps us align with the natural order rather than fighting against it. Embracing change doesn't mean we should be passive or stop working toward our goals. Instead, it means we accept that the methods, timelines, and even the goals themselves may need to evolve as circumstances change. Many of our anxieties stem from trying to maintain control over things that are inherently unstable. Our bodies age, our relationships evolve, our careers shift, and our circumstances change. Fighting these changes wastes energy and creates stress. When we embrace change as natural and necessary, we become more adaptable and resilient. We spend less time mourning what was and more time engaging with what is. We see transitions as opportunities for growth rather than threats to our security. This affirmation is particularly powerful during major life transitions, such as career changes, relationship shifts, or health challenges. Instead of viewing these changes as disruptions to our plans, we can see them as part of the natural evolution of our lives. Affirmation 12. My peace comes from within. External circumstances are temporary and unpredictable, but inner peace can be cultivated and maintained regardless of what happens around us. This affirmation reminds us that true tranquility is not dependent on favorable conditions. Inner peace comes from aligning our actions with our values, accepting what we cannot control, and maintaining perspective during both good times and bad. It's not the absence of challenges or emotions, but the presence of equilibrium and stability beneath surface fluctuations. This principle frees us from the exhausting cycle of seeking happiness through external means. We don't need the perfect job, relationship, or living situation to experience peace. We can find tranquility even in the midst of difficulty by connecting with our inner resources. Cultivating inner peace requires regular practice. This might involve meditation, philosophical reflection, journaling, or simply taking moments throughout the day to pause and center ourselves. The goal is to develop an unshakable core of stability that remains constant regardless of external turbulence. When our peace comes from within, we become less reactive to others' moods and behaviors. We can offer support to others without being overwhelmed by their problems, and we can enjoy good times without desperately clinging to them. Affirmation 13. I learn from every experience. Every experience, whether pleasant or unpleasant, successful or disappointing, contains valuable lessons. This affirmation commits us to approaching life as a continuous learning opportunity. Learning from experience requires reflection and honesty. When things go well, we can examine what factors contributed to success and how we can replicate those conditions. When things go poorly, we can analyze what went wrong and how we might handle similar situations differently in the future. This perspective transforms failures from sources of shame transforms failures from sources of shame into sources of wisdom. Every mistake becomes valuable data that can inform better decisions. Every setback becomes a chance to develop resilience and problem-solving skills. The key to embodying this affirmation is developing the habit of regular reflection. At the end of each day, we can ask ourselves what we learned, how we grew, and what we would do differently. This practice turns experience into wisdom and prevents us from repeating the same mistakes. Learning from experience also involves learning from others' experiences. Reading biographies, listening to mentors, and studying history can provide insights that help us avoid unnecessary difficulties and make better choices. Affirmation 14. I am responsible for my own happiness. Happiness is not something that happens to us, but something we create through our choices and perspectives. This affirmation places the responsibility for our emotional well-being squarely in our own hands. Taking responsibility for our happiness doesn't mean we should blame ourselves for feeling sad or anxious. Emotions are natural responses to circumstances. However, we can take responsibility for how we interpret events, what we focus on, and how we respond to our feelings. This principle is liberating because it means our happiness is not dependent on other people's behavior or external circumstances. We don't need to wait for the perfect conditions to experience joy and satisfaction. We can choose to find meaning and pleasure in our current situation. Responsibility for happiness involves developing healthy habits, maintaining supportive relationships, engaging in meaningful activities, and cultivating gratitude. It means being proactive about our mental and emotional health rather than simply hoping things will improve. We can appreciate love and support from others without depending on them for our fundamental sense of well-being. Affirmation 15. I focus on progress, not perfection. The pursuit of perfection often leads to paralysis, procrastination, and self-criticism. This affirmation redirects our attention toward continuous improvement and growth, rather than flawless performance. Progress is measurable and achievable, while perfection is an impossible standard that ensures disappointment. When we focus on progress, we celebrate small improvements and learn from setbacks. When we focus on perfection, we become discouraged by any mistake or limitation. This principle is particularly important in developing virtue and character. Becoming wise, just, courageous, and temperate is a lifelong process, not a destination we reach and maintain effortlessly. Each day offers opportunities to practice these virtues and to improve our performance. Focusing on progress helps us maintain motivation during challenging periods. Even when we feel like we're moving backward, we can usually identify some area where we're growing or improving. This keeps us engaged in the process of development, rather than giving up when we fall short of unrealistic expectations. Progress-focused thinking also makes us more compassionate toward ourselves and others. We recognize that everyone is at different stages of development, and that making mistakes is an essential part of learning. Affirmation 16. I act with integrity in all situations. Integrity means aligning our actions with our stated values, regardless of external pressures or temptations. This affirmation commits us to being the same person in private as we are in public, and to honoring our principles even when it's difficult. Acting with integrity requires courage, because it sometimes means choosing what is right over what is easy or profitable. It means being honest even when lying would be more convenient, keeping promises even when circumstances change, and standing up for our beliefs even when others disagree. Integrity builds trust with others and self-respect within ourselves. When we consistently act according to our values, we develop confidence in our character and find it easier to make difficult decisions because our principles provide clear guidance. This principle also protects us from the internal conflict that comes from living divided lives. When our public persona differs significantly from our private behavior, we experience stress and anxiety. Integrity eliminates this division and creates internal harmony. Living with integrity sometimes requires sacrifice in the short term, but always pays dividends in the long term through increased self-respect, stronger relationships, and a reputation for trustworthiness. Affirmation 17. I remain calm in the face of adversity. Adversity is inevitable, but our response to it is optional. This affirmation reminds us that we can maintain our composure and clear thinking even when facing serious challenges. Remaining calm doesn't mean suppressing emotions or pretending difficulties don't affect us. Instead, it means not allowing emotions to overwhelm our judgment or drive us to impulsive actions we might regret later. Calmness in adversity comes from perspective and preparation. When we remember that challenges are temporary and that we have successfully navigated difficulties before, we're less likely to panic or despair. When we have developed inner resources through philosophical practice, we're better equipped to handle whatever comes our way. This principle is particularly valuable during crises, when clear thinking is most important. Panic clouds judgment and leads to poor decisions, while calmness enables us to assess situations accurately and respond wisely. Cultivating calmness requires regular practice during ordinary times. Through meditation, reflection, and conscious breathing, we can develop the ability to center ourselves quickly when challenges arise. Affirmation 18. I value relationships based on character. The quality of our relationships has an enormous impact on our well-being and character development. This affirmation guides us to prioritize relationships with people who share our values and support our growth. Character-based relationships are built on mutual respect, honesty, and shared commitment to virtue. These relationships survive disagreements and challenges because they're founded on deeper qualities than temporary compatibility or convenience. This doesn't mean we should be elitist or dismissive of people who are at different stages of development. Instead, it means we should be intentional about who we spend the most time with and who we turn to for advice and support. Relationships based on character encourage us to be our best selves. When we surround ourselves with people who value integrity, wisdom, and kindness, we're naturally motivated to embody these qualities more consistently. This principle also guides us in how we contribute to relationships. By focusing on developing our own character, we become better friends, partners, and colleagues, attracting others who share similar values and creating positive cycles of mutual growth. Affirmation 19. I practice gratitude daily. Gratitude is one of the most powerful tools for creating happiness and contentment. This affirmation commits us to regularly acknowledging and appreciating the good things in our lives, no matter how small. Daily gratitude practice shifts our attention from what we lack to what we already possess. This simple change in focus has profound effects on our mood, relationships, and overall life satisfaction. When we regularly notice and appreciate good things, we naturally experience more joy. Gratitude also puts our problems in perspective. When we're conscious of our blessings, our challenges seem more manageable and temporary. This doesn't minimize real difficulties, but provides balance and context that prevents us from being overwhelmed. The practice of gratitude extends beyond our personal benefits to include appreciation for others' contributions to our lives. This strengthens relationships and creates positive cycles where expressing gratitude encourages others to continue their helpful behavior. Daily gratitude can be practiced through journaling, mental reflection, or verbal expression to others. The key is consistency and specificity, focusing on particular details rather than general statements. Affirmation 20. I am patient with myself and others. Patience is the recognition that growth and change take time, and that demanding immediate results often leads to frustration and poor decisions. This affirmation encourages us to extend grace to ourselves and others during the natural process of development. Patience with ourselves means accepting that we will make mistakes as we learn and grow. It means not giving up on our goals when progress seems slow and not being harshly self-critical when we fall short of our expectations. Patience with others recognizes that everyone is at different stages of their journey and that we cannot force anyone to change faster than they're ready to. This patience reduces conflict in relationships and creates space for natural development to occur. Developing patience requires accepting that worthwhile things often take time. Building character, mastering skills, and creating meaningful relationships are gradual processes that cannot be rushed without sacrificing quality. This principle is particularly important in our instant gratification culture, where we're conditioned to expect immediate results. Patience helps us stay committed to long-term goals and appreciate the journey of growth, rather than only focusing on destinations. Affirmation 21. I choose courage over comfort. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act according to our values despite feeling afraid. This affirmation commits us to choosing growth and integrity over the temporary safety of staying in our comfort zones. Choosing courage over comfort means being willing to have difficult conversations, take calculated risks, and stand up for what we believe is right, even when it's socially unpopular. It means pursuing meaningful goals, even when success is uncertain. This principle recognizes that most personal growth occurs outside our comfort zones. When we consistently choose the easy path, we miss opportunities to develop resilience, confidence, and new capabilities. Courage builds upon itself. Each time we choose courage over comfort, we prove to ourselves that we can handle more than we initially believed. This creates an upward spiral of confidence and capability. The key to practicing this affirmation is starting with small acts of courage and gradually building up to larger ones. This might mean speaking up in meetings, trying new activities, or having honest conversations with loved ones about important issues. Affirmation 22. My value is not determined by others' opinions. Other people's opinions about us are beyond our control and often say more about them than about us. This affirmation reminds us that our self-worth should be based on our character and actions, rather than external validation. When we derive our value from others' opinions, we become anxious and people-pleasing, constantly trying to manage how others perceive us. This is exhausting and ultimately impossible, because we cannot control what others think. True self-worth comes from living according to our values and treating others with respect and kindness. When we know we are acting with integrity and good intentions, we can remain confident, regardless of whether others appreciate our efforts. This principle doesn't mean we should ignore all feedback or stop caring about our impact on others. Instead, it means we should evaluate feedback objectively and make changes when they align with our values, while not being devastated by criticism that doesn't reflect our true character. Developing independence from others' opinions requires building a strong sense of self based on our own principles and experiences. This creates stability that external criticism cannot easily shake. Affirmation 23. I find meaning in serving others. Service to others connects us to something larger than ourselves and provides deep satisfaction that self-focused activities cannot match. This affirmation commits us to looking for opportunities to contribute to others' well-being. And to the common good. Serving others doesn't necessarily mean grand gestures or formal volunteer work, though these can be valuable. It can mean listening carefully to a friend in need, helping a colleague with a project, or simply being kind to strangers we encounter throughout our day. When we focus on serving others, we naturally become less self-absorbed and worried about our own problems. This shift in perspective often leads to feeling more fulfilled and connected to our community. Service also develops our character by requiring us to practice patience, compassion, and selflessness. These virtues benefit not only those we serve, but also our own development and well-being. The key to meaningful service is finding ways to contribute that align with our skills and interests. When we serve in areas where we can make a real difference, we experience the satisfaction of using our talents for good. Affirmation 24. I accept criticism as an opportunity to improve. Criticism, whether constructive or harsh, provides information about how others perceive us, and can highlight areas where we might grow. This affirmation helps us receive feedback without becoming defensive or discouraged. Accepting criticism doesn't mean agreeing with everything people say about us. Instead, it means listening carefully, evaluating the feedback objectively, and extracting useful information while discarding what isn't helpful or accurate. When we can receive criticism without taking it personally, we demonstrate emotional maturity and create opportunities for genuine improvement. This openness to feedback accelerates our development and strengthens our relationships. The key to practicing this affirmation is separating the message from the messenger and the criticism from our identity. Someone can point out a mistake we made without attacking our worth as a person. Regular practice of accepting criticism also makes us more comfortable giving constructive feedback to others, which improves our ability to help them grow and strengthens our relationships. Affirmation 25. I choose reason over emotion. In decision-making, emotions provide valuable information about our values and experiences, but they are not always reliable guides for decision-making. This affirmation commits us to using rational thinking to evaluate our options and make choices. Choosing reason over emotion doesn't mean suppressing feelings or becoming coldly analytical. Instead, it means acknowledging our emotions while also considering facts, consequences, and long-term implications before acting. Emotional decision-making often leads to regret because intense feelings are temporary, while the consequences of our actions can be lasting. By pausing to think rationally, we make choices that align with our long-term interests and values. This principle is particularly important during conflicts or crises when emotions run high. By maintaining our commitment to rational thinking, we can respond more effectively and avoid escalating difficult situations. Developing the habit of reason-based decision-making requires practice and self-awareness. We can start by identifying our emotional state before making important decisions, and then asking ourselves what choice our rational mind would recommend. Affirmation 26. I am resilient and adaptable. Resilience is the ability to recover from setbacks and continue moving forward despite challenges. Adaptability is the willingness to change our approach when circumstances require it. This affirmation reminds us that we possess these qualities and can develop them further. Building resilience involves accepting that setbacks are normal parts of life rather than evidence of personal failure. When we expect challenges and prepare mentally for them, we're less likely to be overwhelmed when they occur. Adaptability requires letting go of rigid expectations about how things should unfold and remaining open to alternative paths toward our goals. This flexibility reduces stress and increases our chances of success in changing circumstances. Both resilience and adaptability grow stronger with practice. Each time we overcome a challenge or successfully adapt to change, we build confidence in our ability to handle whatever comes next. These qualities are particularly valuable in our rapidly changing world where traditional approaches may no longer be effective and new challenges emerge regularly. Affirmation 27. I live according to my values, not my fears. Fear often masquerades as practicality or wisdom, convincing us to avoid risks and opportunities that could lead to growth and fulfillment. This affirmation encourages us to make decisions based on our principles rather than our anxieties. Living according to our values means pursuing what matters to us even when it feels scary or uncertain. It means being honest even when lies might be easier, showing kindness even when we've been hurt, and working toward meaningful goals even when success isn't guaranteed. Fear-based living leads to regret and a sense of unfulfilled potential. When we consistently choose safety over meaning, we may avoid short-term discomfort but miss out on the satisfaction that comes from pursuing our authentic path. This doesn't mean we should be reckless or ignore legitimate dangers. Instead, it means we should evaluate risks realistically, rather than allowing fear to exaggerate them and prevent us from taking worthwhile actions. Regular clarification of our values helps us make fear-transcending decisions. When we're clear about what matters most to us, we can use those principles as guides when fear tries to hold us back. Affirmation 28. I am present and mindful in each moment. Mindfulness involves paying attention to what is happening right now without judgment or distraction. This affirmation commits us to engaging fully with our present experience rather than dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. Being present allows us to notice and appreciate details that we miss when our minds are elsewhere. This enriches our daily experience and helps us find joy in ordinary moments. Mindfulness also improves our decision-making because we're more aware of what's actually happening rather than operating on assumptions or mental projections. This clarity leads to more appropriate and effective responses. The practice of presence reduces anxiety because most of our worries concern things that are not happening right now. When we focus on the present moment, we often find that we can handle whatever is actually occurring. Developing mindfulness requires regular practice and patience with ourselves when our minds wander. Simple techniques like focusing on breathing or noticing physical sensations can help anchor us in the present moment. Affirmation 29. I transform negative emotions into wisdom. Negative emotions are not enemies to be eliminated, but teachers that can provide valuable insights about our values, needs, and circumstances. This affirmation encourages us to learn from difficult feelings rather than simply enduring them. Anger often signals that something we value has been threatened or violated. Instead of expressing anger destructively, we can use it to clarify our boundaries and take appropriate action to protect what matters to us. Sadness frequently indicates loss or disappointment. Rather than avoiding sadness, we can allow ourselves to grieve while also exploring what the loss meant to us and how we might find meaning moving forward. Fear usually points to perceived threats to our well-being or values. Instead of being paralyzed by fear, we can examine whether the threats are real and take reasonable precautions while not allowing anxiety to prevent us from living fully. Transforming negative emotions into wisdom requires curiosity about our inner experience and willingness to sit with discomfort long enough to understand its message. This process turns emotional pain into personal growth. Affirmation 30. I celebrate others' success without envy. Envy is a destructive emotion that poisons our relationships and robs us of joy in others' achievements. This affirmation commits us to genuinely celebrating when others succeed and finding inspiration in their accomplishments. Celebrating others' success requires recognizing that life is not a zero-sum game where someone else's victory means our defeat. There is enough success, happiness, and fulfillment for everyone, and others' achievements can inspire us to pursue our own goals. When we can genuinely celebrate others' success, we build stronger relationships and create positive social environments. People are naturally drawn to those who support their growth and celebrate their victories. This practice also reduces our own suffering because envy is inherently painful. When we choose celebration over comparison, we experience more joy and contentment in our daily lives. Overcoming envy often requires examining our own insecurities and working to build confidence in our unique path. When we're secure in our own worth and direction, others' success becomes inspiring rather than threatening. Affirmation 31. I speak truthfully and kindly. Communication has the power to build or destroy relationships, to encourage or discourage others, and to create clarity or confusion. This affirmation guides us to use our words wisely and constructively. Speaking truthfully means being honest about facts, feelings, and intentions without distorting reality to serve our immediate interests. It also means being authentic about who we are, rather than pretending to be someone we're not. Speaking kindly means considering the impact of our words on others and choosing language that respects their dignity even when we disagree with them. Kindness doesn't require us to avoid difficult conversations, but to approach them with compassion. The combination of truth and kindness creates communication that is both honest and helpful. We can address problems directly while also showing care for the people involved. This principle requires us to think before we speak and to consider whether our words will contribute positively to the situation. It also means being willing to remain silent when we cannot speak both truthfully and kindly. Affirmation 32. I take responsibility for my mistakes. Accepting responsibility for our mistakes is crucial for personal growth and maintaining trust in relationships. This affirmation encourages us to acknowledge our errors honestly rather than making excuses or blaming others. Taking responsibility involves admitting when we've made poor decisions, hurt others, or failed to meet our commitments. This requires humility and courage, but leads to respect from others and opportunities to make amends. When we take responsibility for mistakes, we demonstrate integrity and create space for learning and improvement. Denial or blame shifting prevents us from understanding what went wrong and how to do better next time. This practice also models accountability for others and creates cultures of honesty and growth in our families, workplaces, and communities. When people see us taking responsibility, they're more likely to do the same. The key to practicing this affirmation is responding quickly when we realize we've made a mistake, apologizing sincerely, and taking concrete steps to correct the problem and prevent similar issues in the future. Affirmation 33. I find strength in solitude. Solitude provides opportunities for reflection, creativity, and connection with our inner wisdom. This affirmation reminds us that time alone is valuable and necessary for personal development. In solitude, we can think deeply about our experiences, values, and goals without the influence or distraction of others. This introspection helps us make better decisions and develop greater self-awareness. Solitude also allows us to recharge and process emotions without having to manage social interactions. This is particularly important for introverts but beneficial for everyone. Finding strength in solitude doesn't mean becoming antisocial or avoiding relationships. Instead, it means appreciating alone time as an opportunity for growth rather than viewing it as loneliness or isolation. Regular periods of solitude can be cultivated through practices like meditation, journaling, nature walks, or simply sitting quietly without devices or distractions. The goal is to become comfortable with our own company and inner voice. Affirmation 34. I approach conflict with understanding. Affirmation 34. I approach conflict with understanding. Conflict is inevitable in human relationships, but our approach to disagreements determines whether they become destructive or constructive experiences. This affirmation guides us to seek understanding before seeking to be understood. Approaching conflict with understanding means trying to see situations from others' perspectives and recognizing that most people have legitimate reasons for their positions, even when we disagree with them. This approach reduces defensiveness and creates space for genuine dialogue rather than mere argument. When people feel heard and understood, they're more willing to consider alternative viewpoints and work towards solutions. Understanding doesn't require agreement or compromise of our values. We can empathize with others' positions while still maintaining our own principles and advocating for what we believe is right. Practicing this affirmation requires active listening, asking clarifying questions, and suspending judgment long enough to truly understand what others are trying to communicate. This often leads to more creative solutions and stronger relationships. Affirmation 35. I am disciplined in pursuit of my goals. Discipline is the bridge between intentions and achievements. This affirmation commits us to maintaining consistent effort toward our goals, even when motivation wanes or obstacles arise. Discipline involves creating systems and habits that support our objectives rather than relying solely on willpower or inspiration. When we have established routines, we can make progress even on days when we don't feel particularly motivated. This principle recognizes that meaningful achievements require sustained effort over time. Quick fixes and overnight successes are rare, while consistent daily actions compound into significant results. Developing discipline starts with clarity about our goals and honest assessment of what actions will lead to success. It then requires creating accountability systems and removing obstacles that make consistent action difficult. The key to maintaining discipline is focusing on the process rather than just the outcome. When we find satisfaction in the daily practice of working toward our goals, we're more likely to persist through challenges and setbacks. Affirmation 36. I balance ambition with contentment. Ambition drives us to grow and achieve, while contentment allows us to appreciate what we already have. This affirmation reminds us that both qualities are necessary for a fulfilling life. Balanced ambition means pursuing meaningful goals without becoming so focused on future achievements that we miss present joys. It means working hard while also maintaining perspective about what truly matters. Contentment doesn't mean complacency or giving up on dreams. Instead, it means finding satisfaction in our current circumstances while still working to improve them. This balance prevents both stagnation and endless striving. When ambition and contentment are balanced, we pursue goals from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. We want to grow and achieve because it's fulfilling, not because we feel inadequate without accomplishments. This balance helps us make better decisions about which opportunities to pursue and which to decline. We can choose goals that align with our values rather than simply chasing external markers of success. Affirmation 37. I learn from wise teachers and mentors. Learning from others who have wisdom and experience accelerates our development and helps us avoid unnecessary mistakes. This affirmation reminds us to seek guidance from those who have walked similar paths successfully. Wise teachers and mentors can come in many forms: books, podcasts, formal mentorship relationships, or simply observing people we admire. The key is being open to learning from various sources rather than trying to figure everything out alone. Learning from mentors requires humility and willingness to accept feedback and guidance. It also requires discernment to distinguish between wisdom and mere opinion or bias. This principle doesn't mean blindly following others or abandoning our own judgment. Instead, it means gathering insights from multiple sources and synthesizing them into our own understanding and approach. Regular engagement with wise teachers helps us maintain perspective during difficult times and provides encouragement when we're struggling. It also connects us to larger traditions of wisdom and growth. Affirmation 38. I practice self-compassion in times of struggle. Self-compassion involves treating ourselves with the same kindness we would show a good friend during difficult times. This affirmation encourages us to be understanding and supportive toward ourselves when we're suffering or struggling. Self-compassion recognizes that struggle and failure are part of the human experience rather than signs of personal inadequacy. When we normalize difficulty, we're less likely to be overwhelmed by it or to compound our suffering with self-criticism. This practice involves acknowledging our pain without minimizing it, offering ourselves comfort and encouragement, and remembering that we're not alone in our struggles. It's the opposite of both self-pity and harsh self-judgment. Self-compassion actually motivates positive change more effectively than self-criticism because it provides emotional safety that allows us to examine our mistakes honestly and make improvements without feeling threatened. Developing self-compassion requires recognizing our inner critic and consciously choosing to respond to ourselves with kindness. This might involve changing our internal dialogue or treating ourselves with the same care we give to loved ones. Affirmation 39. I trust in my ability to handle whatever comes. This affirmation builds confidence in our resilience and capability by reminding us that we have successfully navigated challenges before and possess the resources to handle future difficulties. Trusting in our ability doesn't mean believing we can control all outcomes or prevent all problems. Instead, it means having confidence that we can respond appropriately to whatever circumstances arise and learn from the experience. This trust is built through experience and reflection. When we review our past challenges and recognize how we've grown through them, we develop faith in our ability to handle future obstacles. The practice of this affirmation reduces anxiety about the future because we're not focusing on preventing all possible problems, but on building confidence in our adaptive capacity. This confidence becomes self-fulfilling because when we believe we can handle challenges, we're more likely to approach them calmly and creatively rather than being overwhelmed by fear or panic. Affirmation 40. I choose quality over quantity in all areas of life. In a culture that often emphasizes more, bigger, and faster, this affirmation reminds us that excellence and depth are more satisfying than mere accumulation or superficial achievement. Choosing quality over quantity applies to relationships, possessions, experiences, and goals. It means investing deeply in what truly matters rather than spreading ourselves thin across numerous shallow pursuits. This principle leads to greater satisfaction because quality experiences and relationships provide lasting fulfillment, while quantity-focused approaches often leave us feeling empty despite apparent abundance. In relationships, this means cultivating deep connections with a few people rather than maintaining superficial relationships with many. In work, it means doing excellent work on meaningful projects rather than rushing through numerous tasks. Practicing this affirmation requires saying no to good opportunities in order to say yes to great ones. It requires patience and commitment to excellence, even when quick fixes or shortcuts are available. Affirmation 41. I find joy in simple pleasures. Happiness often comes not from extraordinary events, but from appreciation of ordinary moments and simple pleasures. This affirmation reminds us to notice and enjoy the small gifts that surround us daily. Simple pleasures might include a warm cup of coffee, a beautiful sunset, a conversation with a friend, or the satisfaction of completing a task. These experiences are available to almost everyone, regardless of circumstances or resources. Finding joy in simple pleasures reduces our dependence on external achievements or acquisitions for happiness. This creates stability and contentment that external circumstances cannot easily disrupt. This practice also increases our overall happiness because simple pleasures are abundant and frequent, while extraordinary experiences are rare. When we can find joy in everyday moments, we experience more joy overall. Developing appreciation for simple pleasures requires slowing down and paying attention to our daily experiences rather than rushing through them while focused on future goals or past concerns. Affirmation 42. I maintain hope during difficult times. Hope is not naive optimism, but the belief that positive change is possible, even in challenging circumstances. This affirmation reminds us to maintain this essential quality when facing adversity. Hope provides energy and motivation to continue working toward improvement when immediate prospects seem dim. It prevents despair and resignation that can make difficult situations worse. Maintaining hope doesn't require denying the reality of problems or pretending everything is fine. Instead, it means acknowledging difficulties while also believing that they are temporary and that positive change is possible. Hope is supported by remembering past recoveries from difficulty, focusing on what we can control, and connecting with sources of meaning and purpose that transcend current circumstances. This affirmation is particularly important during extended difficult periods when it's easy to lose perspective and assume that current conditions will continue indefinitely. Affirmation 43. I am consistent in my values and actions. Consistency between our values and actions creates integrity and reduces internal conflict. This affirmation commits us to aligning our behavior with our stated principles, regardless of external pressures. Consistency builds trust with others because they can rely on us to behave predictably according to our principles. It also builds self-trust because we prove to ourselves that we can be counted on to honor our commitments. This doesn't mean rigid inflexibility or inability to grow and change. Instead, it means that our core values remain stable, while our understanding and application of them may evolve with experience. Maintaining consistency requires regular reflection on whether our actions align with our stated values and making adjustments when we discover discrepancies. It also requires courage to act according to our principles, even when it's difficult. The practice of consistency creates internal harmony and reduces the stress that comes from living divided lives where our public persona differs significantly from our private behavior. Affirmation 44. I release what I cannot control with peace. Letting go of what we cannot control is one of the most liberating practices we can develop. This affirmation encourages us to release our grip on outcomes and circumstances beyond our influence. Releasing control doesn't mean becoming passive or stop working toward our goals. Instead, it means focusing our energy where we can make a difference while accepting that many factors affecting outcomes are beyond our influence. This practice reduces anxiety and frustration because we stop wasting energy fighting against unchangeable circumstances. It also increases our effectiveness because we can focus completely on what we can actually influence. Learning to release control requires distinguishing between what we can and cannot influence, and regularly reminding ourselves of this distinction. It's an ongoing practice rather than a one-time decision. The peace that comes from releasing control creates space for creativity and spontaneity because we're not constantly trying to force predetermined outcomes in complex and unpredictable situations. Affirmation 45. I treat my body with respect and care. Our physical health significantly impacts our mental and emotional well-being. This affirmation reminds us to care for our bodies as the foundation for everything else we want to accomplish. Treating our body with respect means providing it with adequate nutrition, exercise, rest, and medical care. It means avoiding harmful substances and activities that compromise our health and vitality. This care extends beyond preventing disease to optimizing energy, mood, and cognitive function. When we feel physically strong and healthy, we're better equipped to handle stress and pursue our goals. Body respect also involves accepting our physical limitations and changes rather than fighting against natural aging or genetic predispositions. This acceptance reduces suffering and allows us to work with our bodies rather than against them. The practice of caring for our bodies requires consistency and long-term thinking, because the benefits of healthy habits compound over time while the consequences of neglect may not be immediately apparent. Affirmation 46. I contribute to the common good. We are all part of larger communities and have responsibilities to contribute to collective well-being. This affirmation reminds us to consider how our actions affect others and to actively work. Affirmation 46. I contribute to the common good. We are all part of larger communities and have responsibilities to contribute to collective well-being. This affirmation reminds us to consider how our actions affect others and to actively work for the greater good. Contributing to the common good can take many forms, from volunteering and charitable giving to simply being a good neighbor and citizen. It can mean supporting just policies or businesses that align with our values. This principle recognizes that our well-being is interconnected with others' well-being. When we work to improve conditions for everyone, we ultimately benefit ourselves as well. Contributing to the common good provides meaning and purpose beyond personal achievement. It connects us to something larger than ourselves and creates a sense of legacy and impact. The practice of considering the common good also improves our decision-making by expanding our perspective beyond immediate personal benefits to include longer-term collective consequences. Affirmation 47. I face reality with courage and honesty. Reality is often different from our preferences or expectations, but facing it honestly is essential for making good decisions and finding peace. This affirmation commits us to seeing situations clearly rather than through the filter of wishful thinking. Facing reality requires courage because the truth is sometimes difficult or disappointing. It may require acknowledging that our plans aren't working, our relationships need attention, or our assumptions were incorrect. Honesty about reality is liberating because it eliminates the energy required to maintain illusions and creates opportunities to address problems effectively. When we see situations clearly, we can respond appropriately. This doesn't mean becoming pessimistic or focusing only on problems. Instead, it means seeing both challenges and opportunities accurately, rather than distorting either in service of immediate emotional comfort. The practice of facing reality with courage and honesty builds confidence because we prove to ourselves that we can handle the truth and respond effectively to whatever we discover. Affirmation 48. I cultivate inner strength through practice. Inner strength is not a fixed trait, but a quality that can be developed through consistent practice and conscious effort. This affirmation reminds us that we can build psychological resilience and emotional stability. Inner strength involves the ability to remain centered during difficulties, to make decisions based on values rather than impulses, and to maintain hope and determination when facing obstacles. This strength is cultivated through practices like meditation, philosophical reflection, physical exercise, and regularly choosing courage over comfort. Like physical strength, it grows stronger with regular exercise. Building inner strength requires patience because the benefits are often subtle and cumulative. However, over time, consistent practice creates noticeable increases in our ability to handle stress and adversity. The development of inner strength is one of the most valuable investments we can make because it supports everything else we want to accomplish and provides stability regardless of external circumstances. Affirmation 49. I am part of a larger whole. This affirmation reminds us that we are connected to other people, to nature, and to forces larger than ourselves. This perspective provides comfort during difficult times and inspiration for service to others. Recognizing our connection to a larger whole reduces the isolation and self-absorption that often cause suffering. When we see ourselves as part of something bigger, our individual problems seem more manageable and temporary. This perspective also motivates us to contribute positively to the systems we're part of, whether that's our family, community, workplace, or environment. We understand that harming the whole ultimately harms us as well. The practice of seeing ourselves as part of a larger whole can be cultivated through spending time in nature, studying systems and interdependence, or engaging in spiritual or philosophical practices that emphasize connection. This understanding provides meaning and purpose because we see that our individual actions matter, not just for ourselves, but for the larger systems we're part of. Affirmation 50. I end each day with reflection and gratitude. Regular reflection allows us to learn from our experiences and make conscious choices about how to improve. This final affirmation establishes the practice of ending each day with thoughtful consideration of what happened and appreciation for what went well. Daily reflection might involve journaling, meditation, or simply mental review of the day's events. The goal is to extract wisdom from experience and to identify patterns in our thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Ending with gratitude shifts our focus to what went well, rather than dwelling on problems or disappointments. This practice improves sleep quality and overall mood, while building habits of appreciation. This combination of reflection and gratitude creates a cycle of continuous improvement and increasing contentment. We learn from mistakes while also celebrating progress and blessings. The practice of daily reflection and gratitude serves as a foundation for all the other Stoic principles, because it develops self-awareness and appreciation that support wise decision-making and emotional stability. Conclusion. These 50 Stoic affirmations provide a comprehensive framework for developing wisdom, resilience, and character. They are not mere positive thinking exercises, but profound philosophical principles that have guided humans toward flourishing for over 2,000 years. The power of these affirmations lies not in passive repetition, but in active practice and embodiment. Each one represents an opportunity to align our thoughts and actions with timeless wisdom about what creates genuine happiness and peace. As you begin incorporating these affirmations into your daily life, remember that transformation takes time and patience. Start with the ones that resonate most strongly with your current challenges, and gradually expand your practice as these principles become more natural. The Stoic path is not about suppressing emotions or becoming indifferent to life's experiences. Instead, it's about developing the inner resources to navigate life's inevitable challenges with grace, wisdom, and strength, while finding joy and meaning in the journey itself. These affirmations offer tools for creating the life of virtue, wisdom, and tranquility that the ancient Stoics recognized. These affirmations offer tools for creating the life of virtue, wisdom, and tranquility that the ancient Stoics recognized as the highest human achievement. Through consistent practice and genuine commitment to these principles, you can develop the unshakable inner peace and strength that no external circumstance can disturb. May these timeless teachings serve you well as you continue on your path of growth and self-discovery.